So I was sitting in my room one day and I had an idea. What if I remake the greatest DisneyChannel.com game of all time? Yes, real ones know what I'm talking about. Sandwich Stacker. And we gotta give some honorable mentions to Zach and Cody, both the Pizza Party and Tipped in Trouble, and that Lilo and Stitch racing game too. Those were all fire. But Sandwich Stacker, that was different. Man, that was my childhood, and I'm sure a lot of you feel the same. Ever since I started the Circus, my dream was to bring back the magic of those old browser games, not just for nostalgia's sake, but because they made the shows feel bigger. They made you feel connected to the world. You felt like you were part of it. So when it came time to make my first game, I know exactly where to start. This is the story of Stack Shack, a sandwich stacking sim that started as a tribute and turned into the foundational piece of our entire universe. It all started in 2020. The only game dev experience was an AP computer science class I took way back in high school. And that was in JavaScript or C#, or I really don't even remember, to be honest with you. So obviously I was teaching myself from the ground up with Godot. And initially, I didn't even want to develop games. I was making pixel art on the side. I was trying to make music videos. I was trying to be a director. And everybody kept asking me, oh, you make pixel art, so you make games, right? Oh, well, it's pixel art, so it's games, right? So I figured, why not make games? I had this idea, had the vision for the universe. So you know what I did? I opened up Godot. After following 2 or 3 tutorials, a few test projects I failed, I was ready to make my first game. I taught myself pixel art, wrote my first lines of code, and made this. Yeah, it was ugly, but the mechanics were there. Catchy ingredients, dodge the trash, and stack the biggest sandwich possible, just like the original. I added 35 levels, difficulty settings, and even like a little rudimentary endless mode. It was janky, but it lit the spark. Was it a good game? No, but it lit the spark, and that's what matters. In this version, I think the cool mechanics we added were the story mode, where you had to make specific sandwiches. Then we added a power-up that took away one of your whacked items. I made like a bonus round where it was coins and money falling from the sky and just kind of lets you stack up coins and racking points for a little bit to give you a break between recipes. And lastly, I added a shop that lets you go and customize every single part of your character. By the end of that year, I was burnt out of developing. I dropped Stack Shack for about 6 months, but in 2021, something funny happened. Out of all the animations we were putting out for the circus, Stack Shack just kept showing up in the background. It became the iconic location of the universe, a fast food franchise that popped up in multiple districts across the land. Even when the game was shelved, the world kept expanding around it. That's when it was revealed that Stack Shack just wasn't a one-off thing. It was canon. For the circus, this was going to be our Krusty Krab or our pizza planet. So now it's 2022. I made a few other games by then and learned how to actually produce stuff that didn't look like it was made in MS Paint. No diss to MS Paint, by the way. I brought on a proper pixel artist. We redid everything: characters, ingredients, background, UI, all of it. We added 2 modes: Stack, the endless classic, and Track, the story mode, where you make specific recipes for picky customers. We even added difficulty levels to change how chaotic the sandwich drops were. Casual players could chill, competitive folks could sweat, and suddenly it started to actually feel like a game instead of just, somebody learning to develop its prototype. But still, was it a good game? Not quite, but we're getting somewhere. Did I love it more than the original Sandwich Stacker? Still not quite, but how do you compete with nostalgia? You know what I mean? At this point, the circus was growing and we just launched our customizable. Hold for dog. At this point, the circus was growing and we just soft launched our customizable character system, the Performers. You guys may have seen the devlog on that last week. So I said, why not combine them? We threw a bunch of the Performers characters into the game. At this point, there was no way to enter your actual character ID or anything, but we just hard-coded, took all those sprites and dropped them into the game. And now, it was really starting to come together. It felt like our world. It was our first test of a shared persistent character system, and it made Stack Shack feel like a part of something way bigger. Now I'll be honest, I got a little sidetracked and I got obsessed with Game Boys. One day, I was messing around with GB Studio and said, yo, what if I ported Stack Shack to a Game Boy? Kinda started off as a joke, but then it worked. I built a real playable Game Boy cartridge version of Stack Shack. A full new art style, a new gameplay loop. In this version, Stack Shack becomes your 9 to 5. You earn money, you go home, and you use it to build out your circus, new rides, new tents, etc. You could also use your money to build up your house. It was up to you. It was a slower pace, more grindy kind of gameplay, but it gave me a different perspective on Stack Shack. It made me think of it as a world, not just a mini game. Oh, and by the way, these are available on our website, and they also have these really cool NFC chips in it, so if you tap the Game Boy cartridge with your phone, you can get a digital version of the game as well. In mid-2024, I finally said, let's go all in. There was a base build-a-thon going on, so I used it as a deadline to build a true 2.5D version of Stack Shack. Now, some of you know, 2.5D was kind of our original style here at the Circus. That's what all our animation started in, and even what my first game attempts were. But as most of you probably know, it's easier to teach yourself 2D instead of hopping right into 3D, which you kind of have to manage even if you're making a 2.5D game. So now that the performers were up and running, we had our soft launch. I took this build-a-thon as a reason to go all in and attempt the grand vision of the Circus. And that all started in Blender, as you guys just saw. And I basically pulled a whole bunch of assets from our animations, any favorite locations, memorable places, and just threw them all into this little overworld. Next, we imported into Godot, and then we're gonna get all our basic movements implemented before moving on to the animations. And these I'm pulling from our sprite sheets from our performer that we minted, and just kind of creating all the different animations for each direction, walk, jump, idle. You guys know the deal. And then as you can see, I'm walking through these buildings here, so let's get some collisions onto our buildings. That's feeling a lot better. And I couldn't help myself. I had to see what it looks like with a couple other of our performers, and it's hitting perfectly. Now that I'm gaining the confidence that this is actually gonna work, I'll hop back into Blender, finish out the rest of the map, import it back into Godot, redo the collision shapes, and finish all that up before adding a fresh new can of paint. And by that, I mean shaders, lighting, and just kind of making it look pretty. Next, we imported our 2D version of Stack Shack, and then I added one of our characters, Chef, as an NPC to stand outside the restaurant, go up to him, talk to him. That'll bring you into the Stack Shack minigame. That's how you earn money in this world. Now we need something to do with the money, so we go over and create our NPC Boomer, and he'll basically supply you with the Circus menu, and this will be all the different rides and attractions that you can make at the Circus, basically what you can spend your money on. And these were still on our old Circus branding when we were still doing red and white, so then I had to pop into Magic Voxel, whatever that program's called, and basically change the whole color palette from red and white to our signature green and yellow. And once that was finished, we're pretty much done. I customized the menu, added a little select your character screen from the start. That way you could play as any of the different character classes. And we kind of have a full finished game. The biggest problems I ran into here was with the map. It's just way too big. The files are gigantic. You can run it on your computer, cannot run it on your phone. So we're working on a remake of the map right now. And that'll be like the next redux and iteration of this game. But that's for another devlog. Let's get back to this one. Now, instead of just playing a level, you start in a 3D overworld. The Circus is empty, you're broke, so you have to earn money. You go to work at the Stack Shack. That snaps you back into 2D mode to stack sandwiches, just like the original minigame. But once you're done with that game, you pop back into the 3D world, and you can use that money to build rides, tents, games, whatever the Circus needs. It's part job sim, part builder, part throwback flash game. And it's the cleanest version of my vision so far. I didn't finish in time for the build-a-thon, but at the end of summer, I think July or August, I went and integrated all the performers. So you could just type in any performer ID and it's gonna populate that character to play in-game. So with that, the world is live, the systems are connected, and every character from the performers collection is already integrated. But this is just a start. I want Stack Shack to be the first job, not the only one. Imagine walking around a multiplayer social hub, playing mini games, building your circus, all tied back to the same character you built from day one. Now, I'm not sure how or when all this will come to fruition, but I just wanted to paint this full picture of kind of what Stack Shack means to me. I've sort of just used it as this, sandbox for myself. Whenever I have a new theory or something I want to experiment with game dev, I always lean on Stack Shack. I always end up leaving it for a little bit, work on commissions, other games, but this has been the passion project that I've always returned to. So I have really grand visions of where I would like to take it and where I could see it going, but it's just kind of been a slow and steady, step by step. Let's push it a little bit farther each time we pick it up. So that's why I wanted to open the floor to you. When you see the progress we made so far, what do you like about it? What do you hate about it? Where would you want to take it? What would you want to do in this world? I know I have a lot of ideas, but instead of sitting here and selling you dreams of stuff that I'm not even sure the reality of developing until, I get into the nitty gritty, I'd like to hear your ideas. As you know, everything we do here at the Circus, we like to make community focused. So I'd like to build off you guys and kind of take that as inspiration. So yeah, that's the full journey of Stack Shack. From an idea in my room in 2020 to a playable universe in 2024. Let me know what you think, what we should add next, what mini games you want to see next. Drop it in the comments. You can play the game right now on our site. I'll leave that link down below. And if you want to support, grab a Game Boy cartridge, grab some of our merch, or you can customize your own character at theperformers.com to play as them in our game. Hop in our Discord if you want to continue this conversation, or if you have any thoughts, comments, feedback, all that. Thank you for watching. It's the Circus, not the circus. We'll see y'all next week.